All right. Love you.
Love you too.
Well, hello, and welcome once again to the Far From Normal Radio Show. I am your host, Jay Moss, and as always, I've got Mr. Rev It Up, Randy Davis. Randy, how are you doing this evening?
I never been better, brother. I'm watching Ron send ballistic missiles into Iraq. I'm watching friends' clients get arrested all day. I'm watching Homeseth call Hallett a pig, and it's just been a day of complete bizarre craziness.
Oh, we're going to get into a lot of stuff this evening, and how we're going to do this evening. We're going to go with the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to tell all and how this works and how the system works and explain this so the average lay person can understand this. Okay. So how we're really going to start this off is I'm going to do a little bit of share screening here real quick as soon as I can get a few of these things up. And I want you to understand, if you are the average layperson, you're saying, okay, family court issues, they don't involve me. CPS issues, they don't involve me. Why should I pay attention to these things? And we're going to explain that. Okay. And it's very, very, very important that you understand why we're going to explain these things. It's because the average lay person out there, you do not understand that your Social Security is being robbed from you every single day. That's right. That's what I said. Your Social Security is being robbed from you every single day. And here is how this works in the system. Okay. There's this little package in here that's called Title 4D, grants to the state aid for services to needy families with children and children welfare services. Now there's a block A, there's a block B. I mean, it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. But I'm going to explain this relatively easy for you so that you can understand. Okay, when a person goes through child support, okay, when they have to pay child support to the system, I'm sure I'm echoing there, so I'm going to get back into here. When a person has to pay child support, what ends up happening is the state matches those funds. Sometimes it's dollar for dollar. Sometimes in the state of Texas, for instance, it's up to $10 in matching funds per dollar. that they receive in child support. Okay, so what is that block grant for? Okay, a lot of these states are taking that money and they're balancing their budgets with it. Okay, but in turn, what also ends up happening is, if, say, mother has custody of those children and mother is getting child support, okay, and she happens to be on welfare, okay, what ends up happening because of a Supreme Court case called Blessings versus Freestone, those children and that ex only receive the first $50 of that child support. The rest goes towards the state. Okay, so we want to explain this in a way that's very easy for you to understand. And what's happening is that is from the Social Security dollars that you pay out of your paycheck. Every single time you get a paycheck, that's what's happening to those dollars. And I don't have to explain it any easier than that, so that you understand that it does affect you. It affects you so much because your money is being taken from you that shouldn't be taken from you. Your money is being robbed from you that shouldn't be robbed from you. And the reason that it's being taken from you is only because children are being taken from homes where they shouldn't have been taken from. Now, are there cases where CPS should get involved in issues and take the children out of a home? Absolutely, 100%. There are children who are in harm's way that need to be taken out of harm's way, and that's why we are not calling for an abolishment of CPS. We do believe that there are instances in which a child does need to be protected, but that's not the majority of these cases. The majority of these cases that we're talking about and that we see on a daily basis are, for instance, a child shows up to school and there's reported bruises on the child. We don't know where those bruises came from. A lot is led into it, where a teacher may be asking a student and they lead them on, oh, did your mother do this? Oh, did your father do this? And the child, being scared, may say yes. Next thing you know, there's a CPS case and the children are being taken, placed into foster care. Should have never happened. Should have never happened. Okay, so when we're talking about those kind of things, those are cases in which we know should have never happened. Okay, so we're making this as cut and dry as we possibly can make it, so that it's easy for you, the average layperson, to understand this. Now, there's so much behind these cases, though. It's not just child support. It's not just the states taking these things. What we're also talking about is all of the child support that's being taken. Okay, there's such a thing called the Bradley Amendment. The Bradley Amendment kicks in when a person is behind on their child support. Okay, and that Bradley Amendment kicks in and says, now that parent paying child support, if they become in arrears, they have to pay what's called compounded interest. Compounded interest is usually what you find on a credit card if you get behind on your credit card. And that's all going to the state and the state's collection agency. Okay, so this is a money-making scheme for the states. The states, again, they balance their budgets with it, or they line their pockets with it, and that's why you see so many people that work in the state collection agencies and in DCF. It's because they have so much money, so much money. And that's where they can combat the system to say, we want these laws approved, we want these state statutes approved. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an uphill battle that goes on each and every day. And we're going to try and make that, again, so cut and dry for you. But in the meantime, we got to get to the bad. Okay, there is bad that's going on within our ranks. Okay, so let's say, for instance, you have a parental equality movement that says, hey, look, we want 50-50 custody, or we want as close to 50-50 custody as we can get. We're trying to make families first, where a child who's taken gets to be placed with a family member rather than being placed in a foster care unit. We're trying to do these things, but in actuality, what we're seeing a lot of within our own ranks, we see within our own ranks, some of these people saying some very wrong things on how to combat the system, how to use what's called sovereign citizenship, and do some very, very wrong things and lead and guide and direct people in a very, very wrong way that will eventually not only have your kids shaken, possibly thrown in jail. We've seen a few of those cases, and Randy will get into those. And we've also seen, for instance, we have seen mental evaluations and possibly psychological evaluations in which someone could be placed in a mental institution because of these things. And so that's why we're combating these things on our side much more in a way where we're saying, hey, look, use the state statutes, use case law, use the Constitution, but we're trying to say use all of these things wisely and exactly how they use them. Okay. Okay. Let's say, for instance, if you have a chocolate chip cookie, okay, just going to give you this, for instance, cut and dry. Okay, you have a chocolate chip cookie, and the courts use a chocolate chip cookie. Okay, and that's although they're only going to accept a chocolate chip cookie, not an oatmeal raisin cookie, not an M&M cookie, not any other macadamia nut or any other cookie. They will only accept a chocolate chip cookie. Well, then what would you have to use? You have to use a chocolate chip cookie, correct? You can't go in there with macadamia nuts and peanut butter and fudge cookies and all these other things. It does not work for you. And that's why we're trying to come across in the most humanistic point of view to you and say, look, we're not out here trying to bash anyone. We're not out here trying to harm anyone or hurt anyone. We're not we're not saying that someone is doing things to harm people directly. I think they're doing it out of a lot of ignorance, and that ignorance has made their minds or their willpower be so strong that they have such a big head at this point in time that they actually believe some of the garbage that's coming out of their mouths. And it's not true. And it's not true. And I'm going to tell you that, and Randy's going to tell you that. We have seen it go so bad for some people that go this direction and go this route. And then when we have guided people and used just simple, logical explanations of using statutes and state laws and using the Constitution, look, those things go well for people. We use rationalization with people. We say, hey, look, if your Facebook is full of bad things or things that might make you look like you're not a good parent, clean that up. If your life is full of that stuff and the judge knows those things, that's how they're going to judge you. Okay. And that might not be fair. It may be very biased, but unfortunately, that's how the court system does work. It is a biased system. It is a system where hearsay a lot of the times comes and counts in as fact. Doesn't mean that it's true, but hearsay is allowed in a family court. And that's what the point that we want to get across to you guys is be mindful of what you say, be mindful of what you do, be mindful of who you follow, because these are some of the things that can happen to you. And Randy, I'm going to turn it over to you because you've seen so much lately. You have paid attention to, say, for instance, Arlena Willis, her case, some of the things that a person by the name of Francesca Amato Bainfield has been leading some of these people astray to say some of the things and do some of the things they have. And we've seen Chris Hallett, Kirk Pendergrass, and before we go any further, I do want to get this point across. Okay. Now, Kirk Pendergrass is an auto mechanic. Okay. He is not a lawyer. He does not have a bar degree. He does not have a law degree. Okay. So when we're talking about these things, he says that state statutes are not law. Okay. So let me share this with you. Okay. State statutes are not law. The definition of Webster's of a statute, a law enacted by legislation branch of government, an act of a corporation or its founders intended as a permanent rule, an international instrument setting up an agency and regulating its scope of authority. Okay, now that to me right there is pretty self-evident that a state is a state law. Randy, what do you think in all this?
I think that these guys are full of crap, is what I think, Jay. If you look up the welfare laws for North Carolina, North Carolina General Statute, NCGS Chapter 7B, everything that DSS does to you as a parent, and believe me, I know, I printed it out, I carried it with me from the day they took my daughter. I memorized it because whether you want to say it's a statute or a law or it's admiralty law or it's sailing on the sea, it's cargo, it's any of this crazy stuff. It doesn't matter what you want to call it, folks. I'm not talking to the old timers that know everything or the sovereign citizen that's telling me about the Enemies of War Act or anything about the Constitution that's been changed and there's a pseudo constitution somewhere. What I'm telling you about, when they knock on your door and they want to come in, that's real life. Whether statutes are having them there or whether laws are having them there or whether the Queen of England's having them there, they're there. Whether it's right or wrong, they're there. And when they come in and they take your child and they leave and they take your child to an unknown location with an unknown foster parent, excuse me, that's not going to be the same as you. That's real life. When you're laying on this couch, I laid on this couch and I worried about my daughter. And it was real to me. And when they put me in jail for 5 months, it was real to me. Were they wrong in doing it? Sure they were. A judge returned my daughter, that let me out of jail because of a writ of habeas corpus that was being filed. But arguing these other things about the flag, arguing whether it's a state statute or not, arguing about your immunity because you're a sovereign is not going to help you. I'm just telling you, it's not going to help you. And desperation leads people to do very desperate things. And in order to cue up what Maria's going to play, I want to tell everybody, Arlena Wills, there's videos out there. Arlena has now taken down her YouTube videos, but we captured the video and we have it. But the reason this video came to be is because Jamie Johnson, in another video, she's talking with Arlena and she's promoting David Straight and David Jose affidavits, the affidavit. I want to make something clear. An affidavit is a fine thing. It just means it's a statement of truth and you're swearing to it. You're putting it into court. The word affidavit is not bad. Not bad. But these people have turned it into a threatening instrument against a judge. This says you're basically going to do commercial liens, judgments, financial situations. If you're truly about getting your kids back, why are you filing an affidavit threatening to charge a judge $5,000 a day? Well, if it's about your children, why are you after the money? Number one, you ought to look at that. When David Jose is pushing these things. So Jamie is pushing those things to Arlena. Arlena, I got to tell you, I'm no psychiatrist, but there's something wrong with Arlena. There is. She was easily persuaded by these people. So what does she do? She starts bucking every single thing. And now this is a woman who yanked a PICC line, which is basically it goes into the vascular, it goes into a vein in your neck. She yanked that out of her child's neck. Now that's not good or healthy. in a hospital. She just yanked it out and left with it. You can't do that. You can't try to leave with your child and yank stuff out of their neck with no medical experience, no medical personnel there to help you. That's insane. That's just bad parenting. Well, she gets this whole thing that she doesn't have to abide by the laws. She can do whatever she pleases, and Fran promotes her to, or prods her to go on Facebook, do all these crazy things. I don't know why that's replaying, but she does it. And what happens is Arlena ends up with United States Marshals, U.S. Marshals at her door. Fran's on the video as Arlena is live, and she's yelling, "Get off of their property, do this, do that." You can hear Fran's screeching voice, but we're going to play that because that is going to lead into what happened today with Arlena. But if you have that ready and you could go ahead and ready that up and let her rip, I don't think it's very long, Maria. We can let the people see. Several people today that don't know Arlena have asked to see it. And if we could get that ready and get it playing, you'll see where U.S. Marshals come and arrest her. She's in Arizona.
It's actually 34 minutes long, so you want me to just try to move it forward a little bit?
Yeah, we just want to get where it is.
This is not a warrant. Your process served. You said process server, then you said a warrant. Which is it, officer? No, it's not a warrant. No, there isn't.
You can see on the
Evelyn?
top right here, this is off of Fran's page.
Call the cops right now, Evelyn.
This was,
Call the FBI. They're in my house, everyone. They're going to try to break down my door.
I can try
They're
to
trying
move
to
it
break
to
down
where
my door
Fran
right
is.
now. They say that they're going to force entry in my home. Look at everybody who these officers are. Look at their faces. Know real closely what these people's faces look like. No, I do not, and you're not going to arrest me. What's the charge? What's the charge? What's the charge? I'm not going outside until you tell me what's the charge. What is the charge, officer?
Jay, you want me to move it to where Fran is start screaming and all?
What's the charge?
Yes, go ahead and
I'm
let's
not
move
sure
that forward.
exactly where Fran enters this screaming. Okay, she's here now. This is the box there.
Charge. You don't just come hijacking. Show the warrant. Show it to me. Show it to me. Show it to everyone, not show a vanilla folder. Put it in front of the window.
Please share this, everybody. You guys that are on right now, let me tell the story real quick. Jonathan Zeke was stolen by Arizona CPS because the mother wanted a second opinion on her child's health. He is an autistic boy. Arizona steals autistic children. It's well known. Arizona steals autistic children.
And they will have to face me in federal court.
They did a operation on Jonathan and then reversed the operation because they were wrong.
And you will have to testify as to what you
This is
do.
what Arizona does.
You will.
Okay? So if you guys are watching, please share and invite your friends
And
with
what
us.
they're doing today.
This is another innocent parent being victimized, and now the FBI has shown up. Picture this. The FBI has shown up for what reason on an innocent mother's property after Arizona stole this child and gave him an operation he didn't need. When mom finally saw him a couple of weeks ago for the first time, he had bruises on his body. And he told mom that there was a witness there, and I've been a witness all along. And he told mom that he's being beaten up in foster care. A child who has never been beat up at home is being beat up in foster care. This is an autistic child, Jonathan C. He is being beat up in foster care. mom is an innocent Christian woman with no background whatsoever. A clean background, immaculate background. She is now being surrounded by the FBI in Arizona, Mesa, Arizona. Okay? This is what they do in Arizona. Arizona steals autistic children because the federal funding is
You want me to
large.
keep playing or?
Okay? So we need to
I
share
think we can cut it from there. I think we can cut it from there.
name of everybody at her door and on her private property.
Yeah, we'll cut that down because honestly, it goes on forever. And what you see is sensationalism. As far as journalism is concerned, it's sensationalism. What she's trying to do is appeal to the masses by saying there's some type of crazy emergency that needs to take place. And all that really needed to happen was Arlena Willis needed to act like a decent human being, find out what the real issue and the problem was, and speak in a manner in which her and the police could work out whatever the issue was.
I
And
just want-
instead, that escalated to this.
I just want to emphasize something about the whole bit with Arlena ripping the PICC line out.
Mhm.
Some of you may know I was sick and I was hospitalized for 2 months straight, and they had to put a PICC line in me. When they removed my PICC line, it was a sterile environment because they did not want any type of bacteria to enter my body. Remember, this is a major blood vessel.
Mhm.
I had to lay flat, and then they pulled it out and applied intense pressure. And then I had to lay flat for an hour. I could not sit up, I could not turn, I could not move, couldn't do anything for an hour. Now imagine this and it's painful at that. It's very painful. This is a small child having a PICC line ripped out of a major blood vessel and then immediately left the hospital. She subjected that child to so many dangers.
Mhm.
It's unacceptable. So she wasn't this innocent mother.
No, and I don't like people who throw out the whole, this is an innocent Christian mother. Look, stop throwing out the word Christian as if it's a basis for the fact that you're some kind of devout religious person who follows God at every footstep. Look, we have all sinned. All of us have sinned and fall short. All of us. So when you're talking about decent Christian person, none of us are decent. Not decent enough. Not decent enough. Not in God's sight. We all have fallen short. We all are sinners. We all need the blood of Christ to wash over us, to wash our sins away. All of us. There isn't this white lie sin. All sin is dirty. All of it. Okay, so don't hand me the Christian thing anymore. I really don't like that label. It disturbs me so much, Randy. And
Yeah,
on this,
look,
I'm going to ask you on this, man. I think this escalated and it was sensationalism. And I'm going to ask you on that what you think.
yeah, it definitely was sensationalism. You always have these situations where Fran jumps in with her big mouth and she screws everything up. She just recently did it with a kid in a hospital in New York. She badmouthed us because we sent to Louisiana. We sent medical power of attorney, durable general power of attorney, and standby guardianship to an aunt whose niece was having a baby. 2 DSS departments from 2 different states were coming after the child. It worked. Fran bashed us for that. Said we were complying. But that baby is still with the niece. I mean, with the aunt. That baby's safe. But those papers are the only thing that kept DSS from taking that baby. Now, when you see things like this, the reason we're showing you this is this. Fran is yelling, this is a good Christian woman. Well, there was an FBI agent there. Was he a Christian? Nobody asked him. But he's just doing what his orders were and what a warrant said for him to do. There was also U.S. Marshals there. Were they Christians? They were doing what a judge's order had told them to do, which was arrest Arlena Willis. Then whenever you look at the cops that were there, were they Christian? See, somehow Fran thinks she can tell everybody who's a Christian and who's not. She wants to dictate. This is a fine, upstanding Christian woman with no record. I got news for you. She's got one now after she met you, Fran. After she met you, David Strait. After she met you, David Jose. After she met you, Jamie Johnson, she now has a record. And let me tell you where that led to. Folks, this was the first arrest. Out of it came 2 charges, 2 felony charges carrying 24 years each. So in order to get to today, a lot of things happened. A lot of motions were filed there was a motion 11, a Rule 11 motion was filed in Arlena's case. And today, Arlena needed to show up at court ready for a hearing, and she was supposed to have had 2 psych evaluations and 2 consults with 2 separate psychologists, 2 of them, because this is a criminal case today. This is a case today revolving around 2 felony charges which carry 48 years maximum sentence in a penitentiary. So she shows up today and she goes full-blown sovereign, not crossing the bar. And then you see this lady, Nettle. This Nettle lady says, well, they forced her into their jurisdiction because she didn't want to cross the bar. You know, those of us who have been to court and have testified, you got to cross the bar, go in and get in the witness stand. So Arlena doesn't want to go in there, and because they said they made a bailiff made her go in there, then they forced the jurisdiction on her. I got news for you. They already got jurisdiction on her. She's yelling, but I have my case in the Ninth Circuit. That's an appellate case. Whatever she's filed over there is not going anywhere anyway, but it's separate. This is a criminal charge. The judge was trying to see whether she was competent to stand trial. That's what the Rule 11 motion was. So she goes in there. She doesn't do it, refuses to do it. And you know what? We posted it. She's in jail too. She's in jail too, just like Esther Deutsch was yesterday, because they listened to Fran. And they may say, oh, I'm not following her advice. I did my own, this, that, and the other. No, Fran is the one supplying these people with their information. And then they go out and because of this bad legal advice, just like Pendergrass and Hallett and Jose and the rest of them are giving. And in this one, for whatever weird reason, they're yelling remonstrance. Folks, these people go to jail. And believe me, I went to jail. No charges, no nothing, no warrant. But what makes me furious is when people do stupid stuff and they violate orders and it puts them in jail, and then they want to kind of lump themselves into my situation where they just put me in jail with no warrant, and I filed a writ of habeas and got out. I beat 8 criminal charges pro se, won my FERPA thing. It makes me furious when people want to equate the 2 of us together. You know, this is insanity. These people are not helping anyone. It's not here just to talk about them all the time. We want to show you, if you don't understand, when you're little and you start to stick a fork in a wall socket, mama hits your hand and says no. She has to. Now, there are people on the internet who come on and they go, oh my God, you're always talking about Fran. No, we're not. No, we're not. You can Google my name, Randy Davis, arrested and detained. Help me get back to my dad. Look and see if I've done other stuff besides just talk about Fran. But for whatever reason, the fanatics have really ramped up lately. And because of that, you have all these people contacting me about, well, Arlena's a good person, this, that, and the other. And do you know anything about her? And I said, sure. She was arrested by U.S. Marshals and she's facing 48 years in prison. Look, folks, once they get you in their grasp and you make it worse with these things, you're screwed. I got to tell you, you're screwed, because what you're going to do is you're going to spend all your time fighting to stay out of the penitentiary. And then they're going to get you over the barrel where they make you stipulate in your case. Now, I'm just telling you, is it common law? Is it admiralty law? Is it maritime law? Is it the law with the flag that's got gold fringe on it? Does it matter? You can't argue it in this courtroom. Get it to the Supreme Court, get your case up there and argue about the flag. If that's what you want to do it. But all of these people now, I'm even seeing there's one guy that's the king of Hawaii. He's the king of Hawaii and he's the postmaster general of the world. I'm telling you, that will not get your kid back. We had a sovereign citizen on the other night, Ken Scott. And Ken Scott, people were like, my God, Randy, you got all the patience in the world with this guy. But I wanted to, all night long, we asked him, what does this sovereign stuff do for the woman or the man who last Friday had their child taken and this Wednesday they have a 7-day hearing in North Carolina? What would that do? Well, it's not about that. It's about the Enemies War Act and just blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. See, for that woman, they don't care which law they're under, and they don't know how to argue it in court. And if they did, it wouldn't win anyway. So they want to know what can they do to improve their chances of winning. And these affidavits are not the way. Claiming that you're cargo on a ship offshore is not the way. The way to do it is you've got to play on the battlefield as it's presented. I wish that there was a battlefield of common law that was presented and places where Kirk Pendergrass could come in and represent you, wave a magic wand, and you would just float out of there. Or a place where Fran would be able to post on Facebook or make the magic call that she says. I can make one call, and in any case, one call. Fran hadn't made that call yet. Why? Because Fran's about milking you. And that's all there is to it. We don't want to talk about that a whole time. But look, folks, people ask me, well, why are they doing it? Money. That's the same reason the system's doing it. Money. Mm-hmm. Big donations, GoFundMes, nonprofit boogered up things. But let me tell you what they're doing. And even in David Straight's little affidavit there, 99 pages of nothing but jargon. What they're using you for as a parent, folks, is that one's called the Never Perfect Affidavit. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If you're telling me how to get my child back to me, I want it to be perfect. I don't want it to be the never perfect. If it's never perfect, it means why don't they just put the unperfect affidavit? Mm-hmm. And then most people are not going to pay for the unperfect affidavit, and they're definitely not going to be using it to get what's most precious to their lives back to them. But here's what's happening. This is my theory, and I think it's pretty much easy to see. These people are trying anything. They're trying to win you, and I'll use a play on words, trial by error. I've thought about it. You know, if you're going to write a book about Fran and the rest of these people, the book title should be Trial by Error, because they err. But here's what they do. They use you as lab rats. Let's try this. What does Fran do first? We're going to do the arrest a judge. That's what kicked it off with me and Fran butting heads when I went down to Georgia and she no-showed and Daniel Hatcher destroyed everything down there. Was Fran's Arrest a Judge Day 2018. Now we have the recordings of why she really didn't go and how Billy Elson was trying to rip Corinne's clothes off. These are not even morally stable people, but they will use your case and they'll send you out as a guinea pig to see what happens. Mm-hmm. They'll send you in there. Now, I can tell you, I'm going to give kudos to Mitch Smith, Postmaster General Mitch _Smith, because Mitch Smith, this is the way I would say it. Does what he do, does it work? No, it doesn't work. But Mitch Smith carries himself in there as a warrior. He jumps up before a judge and does exactly what he tells others to do. Mm-hmm. He does. And he goes to jail, but he does it. And the man's got balls. The man does what he has conviction. Okay. And I'll equate it to like this. It's like the ham and egg breakfast. All right. Mitch is the hog. The hog is committed to the ham and egg breakfast. Fran, Jose, Pendergrass, Hallett, David Straight, they're the chicken. They're involved in the breakfast, but they're not committed. See, that pig's got to be committed to the ham and egg breakfast, whereas Fran and them, they lay their little egg and they're gone. And when you go down, you're on your own. And when you're laying in that cell at night cold, and you're touching, you wake up because your arm hit the steel that's cold in there, and you've got a little thin sheet that you can't even put it diagonally and cover yourself with, and it's so dark, and you're nervous, you're nerve-wracked, you're worrying about where your children are, Fran is not going to be there with you. David is not going to be there with you. When you are put in the slammer like Esther Deutsch was yesterday, and a judge tells you, I'm giving you 30 days. And why? Jay, this is where it comes down to. This is a woman that I posted in her post, Esther Deutsch, New York case. I said, you're following Francesca. It's going to end badly, and you need to take these posts down. Because she was calling her husband a pedophile, saying the judge is dishonorable, this, that, and the other. It was straight out of the Fran playbook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she told me the world needs to know. No, your children don't need to see it because their daughter was in there telling her, take it down. You're lying about my daddy. You're lying about my daddy. And what gets me is so many people were on there. Oh, my God, that pig needs to be hung. Just because this woman said it happened, they have no evidence. They have no facts. They have no proof of anything other than this woman's word, while people were sending me what doctors that she had hired had said about her. Okay? And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know what? She'll get whatever she's got. And I didn't know yesterday what was going to happen. And boom, there she was, locked up. Locked up. I think she got out because the judge said, I'm going to bring you over to the courtroom. This is what the judge told her. I'm going to bring you over to the courtroom every day. And as soon as you say you're going to take the post down, you can get out. Otherwise, you're going to stay here 30 days. Well, apparently one night in the jail was enough because she's agreed to take them down, from my understanding. And it's about Facebook posts that she went to jail. There's one thing, folks, I want you to understand this. And I'm even going to show you something real quick. We're about First Amendment rights. As a matter of fact, we advocated for a girl named Shannon Baskin. Shannon's no longer here because the system took her out. They hit her. There's no doubt. But Shannon won all the way to the Georgia Supreme Court. As a matter of fact, this is a surprise, but can you pull up Washington Post Shannon Baskin on your Google there, Maria? And folks, wherever you're at, look up Washington Post Shannon Baskin and Google it so that you don't think we just made things up. We always have proof of what we're saying. And I want to show you an interesting thing. Let's click on that. Georgia Appellate Court. I can't see it now, but it was there.
Yeah, so I see it still on there.
Yeah. Back. Whoop-de-doodle. Can we go back up to the top there, Maria, a little bit? Georgia Appellate Court overturns custody order that barred both parents from commenting about the case. Now what? Georgia Appellate Court? And then it went to the Supreme Court and they shot it down in Georgia. Look, this case is a real case. This was about a gag order placed on Shannon Baskin by Judge Roper, who she had found in contempt. We advocated. She won against an invalid gag order. Why? It wasn't because she was talking about the ex. It wasn't because she was calling people pedophiles. She wasn't smearing the judge, calling him a crazy this, that, and the other. She was commenting about the judge's behavior and how he erred in his decisions. And she argued the law. And the law that she used was Landmark Communications v. Virginia. And it was a complete case of First Amendment right, that she had a First Amendment right to criticize the actions of the judge that he made in a courtroom. It doesn't mean that she could go out and besmirch him and put her kids' names out there and talk about how the kids had been molested by the father. And you cannot do that. That part you can't. And folks, why would you want to? Now, an interesting thing has been happening all week. Okay, you had another one that followed the crazies like Hallett and Pendergrass this week. You had her name is Cynthia Absug. Cynthia Absug. And what does she do? She's in Colorado and then runs to Montana after she has plotted with a bunch of people, according to the affidavit signed out by her daughter. She has plotted and conspired to kidnap her own child, her son, from the foster parents. That's according to the affidavit her own daughter signed out. Now, when you swear out an affidavit, affidavits work both ways. They're over there liking the affidavits that they do that are full of nothing. But when a woman's daughter swears one out, well, that's not real. That's no good. That's an unlawful, illegal arrest. Look, whether you call it whatever you want to, when you're behind the jail bars, you're behind the jail bars. You can't fight. You can't do anything. It's stupid to go there if you don't have to. Now, some of us, we had to, but you got to be willing to go there and don't whine about it. Don't cry about it. Just go ahead. If you want to do that to yourself, go ahead. But I wouldn't want to go back to jail. Would I? Sure. But I'm not going to go back intentionally like these people do. But the point I'm going to get to of this is there's a curious thing happening this week, and it's where people are bashing the little girl, the 16-year-old girl of Cynthia Absa. They're bashing her because she swore it out. Is she lying? Is she lying? You know, does she not matter? Does Deagle's kids not matter? Does Arlena Willis's kids not matter? Does Esther Deutsch's kids not matter? You see, this is called Future of Our Children Video Network. That's where the Watchman is. That's where Far From Normal is. And we're about the children. Now, and I'm going to tell you, these other people, and there was one on there last night. You know, Diane Lyons asked me, well, don't you think that the kids could have been coached by the father? There's no evidence of that. All I seen was what the girl wrote on Deutsch's thing. But to just take the side of the parent against the child with no evidence, I can't do that. And I'll tell you why. Because when this happened to me and I was put in jail illegally, Cheyenne did a video. Those of you out there, we won't play it here, but look it up. Help me get back to my dad. She did it while she was in hiding after they arrested me and put me in jail. Now, Cheyenne defended me. Cheyenne made everything on the record that had happened to her, and Cheyenne attacked them for what they had done. Our case was already over, by the way. When you see all of this and you see me going to jail, my daughter had been returned to me with an order, a court order, giving them 24 hours to return my daughter. They just ignored it. They sent her back, but then they ignored it. So there were no orders. We weren't violating any orders. Cheyenne wasn't violating any orders, but Cheyenne defended me. Why? She didn't have to. I was in jail. She tells you in the video, my dad's in jail. They're retaliating against him. Why didn't she do what allegedly all these other children are doing to all of their children? I mean, their mothers. See, I think a child most of the time is going to tell you the truth about what's going on, especially when they feel safe, secure, and able to do so. But to all of y'all out there that are ignoring the fact that children are being hurt by some of these parents, you're sick. You shouldn't even call yourself an advocate. You may want to come to me. Why are you always talking about Fran? I'm talking about Fran to warn people. I'm talking about sovereign citizens to warn people. Why? In the last week, we've seen 3 people be arrested. Well, you got Field McConnell in jail. Okay, that's a nut job sovereign citizen. You got Absa in jail because she's following his and Hallett and Pendergrass's advice. You've got Esther Deutsch went to jail. You got Arlena went to jail. And you got Fran on the 27th of this month. She's got to go in there because, look, for y'all to understand, Fran has lost every single case she's ever filed, every suit she's ever filed in her own case. On the 27th, she had filed, appealed, but she was arrested. She was arrested in West Virginia because she was alienating her son from the father against a judge's order. So all of you out there that think, oh, Fran is a protector, protecting. Oh, yes, punished for protecting. No, protecting from what? A court order was for her husband to see the son. She ran with him to West Virginia. She was arrested. Now, she's got a mug shot from that, but she also was charged. She was sanctioned to a 60-day sentence in jail. She appealed. She sued. She appealed again. She appealed all the way to the New York Supreme Court, and it was shot down. She lost. So the 60-day sentence is still hanging there. On the 27th of this month, she will be going before a judge over that 60-day sentence, as well as custody and other violations that are at play in her case. And she alienated that child from the father. No evidence whatsoever except her running her mouth. Her running her mouth. Just because she says it doesn't mean that it happened. And that little boy needs his father. He needs his father. And he doesn't need to see this foolishness with Francesca Amata Banfield all the time either. But here's the point I'm making. Fran is likely to go to jail this month as well. I hope that she does. And I'll tell you why. Because everybody else that does bad and is sentenced goes to jail. Why isn't Fran? Why hasn't she served her 60 days? There's some of us that makes angry. Because equal justice under the law, she should have went to jail. I went to jail for 5 months with no charge. With no charge. She should go to jail for what she's been charged, convicted, appealed and lost, and appealed to the Supreme Court and lost. She should serve that sentence. So those of y'all worshiping Fran, thinking Fran's a big deal, and then once you go down, she leaves you hanging and goes, oh, I'm doing another arrest day. Oh, I'm doing an opt-in with Hoda. Oh, wait a minute, I'm doing a what is it? What's the other ones? My God, she did a Liberian card one time. We played a little clip the other night where she told Jennifer Feldman Monroe out of Florida, a grandmother, whose granddaughter has been TPR'd and adopted out. She told her that she would send her a card that she could put in her wallet. And this card means she doesn't have to have a driver's license. She doesn't have to have registration and tag. She doesn't have to go to court anymore at all. And U.S. Marshals will go to New York and get her granddaughter back and bring that baby back to Florida. That's a stone cold lie. That is a stone cold lie. Now, folks, those that say, well, why do you want to point this out? If we knew, keep in mind, my show is The Watchman. And in the Bible, what it talks about the watchman is if the watchman is on the wall, he's on the wall with a trumpet. And if he see danger come against the fortress, come against the kingdom, he's to blow the trumpet and warn the people in there. Now, here's the deal. Not to fight your battles for you, just to warn you. So we're all watchmen on the wall, folks. And now it says, if the watchman fail to blow the trumpet and the sword come against the people, the blood is on the hands of the watchman, not on the hands of the people, not even on the hands of the vigilantes coming against you, not even on the hands of the enemy. The blood is on the watchman for not blowing the trumpet. But if the watchman blow the trumpet and the people don't protect themselves, the blood is on their hands. So when we do this, they want to stand on scripture. They want to stand on, oh, this is a good Christian person. Well, if you're a watchman and you see something coming that's going to hurt your fellow man, your fellow brother, your fellow sister, or the children, you blow that trumpet. You sound the alarm. You let people know. And then when we do it here, we don't just talk about it. We showed you her being arrested. You can Google anything about it. We'll answer any question you have. We will invite people on. Let a sovereign citizen, Ken Scott, go on for 3 hours the other night with total nonsense. Total nonsense. But he had an opportunity. He didn't present anything. He talked in circles. And that's what you get with these people, is talking in circles. They'll rev you up. They'll get you all hyped up, boy. They get you jazzed, juiced. You're excited. Wham! I got it going, boy. I got free real estate classes. You got to pay $450 for them. I got colloidal silver water with David Jose. I got medical commodities. You can buy you some diabetes test strips, boy, and you can make a fortune with them. And you can file my affidavit, and the world's going to be good. And you know what? Shannon King did hers in August, supposed to have her child back in September. We're now in January. She ain't got them back. They ain't coming back like that. That affidavit don't work. If it worked, folks, we'd be promoting it here. And it's not about envy. And they say, well, he just attacks anybody that's doing anything good. You know what? Mark Ludwig is doing great. We support Mark Ludwig and Americans for Equal Share Parenting. I can tell you, Nicole Williams does great. Karen Pettit-Materna, Sean McMillan, Rosie Vincent, Lily Black, Jim Black. These people are doing good, and there's many more that are doing good, and we support them. Dr. Mark Roseman doing a great job. There's a small secular or circular little group. I call it a dope ring because they get in a little group and they all feed off one another. And then they come up with a new scam continually. And it's the next shining thing. And it upsets me. Why? Because I did lay in that cell 5 months. I did get arrested 3 times. I did take that witness stand over and over. I have testified in the other cases. I have seen the children that have been abused and literally really abused. And you know what? These things matter. These things matter to me. It touches my heart. So I do it because, why? Is it because of money? We don't get paid to do this. There ain't nobody sending me no consultation fees, and you got to opt in by this date, and it keeps getting extended. You got to do this, you got to do that. There's a word. All you do is put your name on it now, according to Fran. Then why ain't she done it? Why were no judges arrested on January 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th? But 2 of Fran's clients were. Now what? Use some common sense, folks. I'm telling you, I get hyped up about it, but the world is an evil, cruel, nasty place. It is, but it's also full of wonder and beauty. And when your children are with you, it is a wonderful thing. And you need to start thinking about, what do I need to do? What can I change about my approach? Because you're getting results. Everybody gets results. You just may not be getting the ones you want. Your number one result should be that you're reunited with your child. Not that you're forced to do psych evaluations, continuing parenting classes all the time, and that you got to jump through one hoop after the other because you're doing dumb stuff to provoke a judge that otherwise wouldn't be doing this to you sometimes. And I know some people done everything on their case plan. I've seen it, and they still didn't get their child back. I've seen it. I understand that, but that's not the majority of them. And no matter what, if you're going to sue them, if you're going to take them to the cleaners in a lawsuit, you still need to be able to show that you did everything you were supposed to do and you followed what you were supposed to do. I'm not saying to sign. I never signed anything. I'm not saying to sign a bunch of things. You don't have to sign, but you need to do whatever it is you need to do to get yourself out of this jam and get your butt back in gear. There's hope, though, folks. I posted a victory today that a man had. We didn't have anything to do with it, but he had a victory today. While Fran's people are going to jail, others are having victories. Are they rare? Yeah, they're more rare than we would like for them to be. But don't you want to be the rare one? Don't you want to be the one that gets their kid back? Don't you want it? You know what? As a parent, whenever they took Cheyenne, I'm telling you, I was thinking I would do whatever it takes to get my daughter back. And I was not farting around on Facebook. I was not out protesting with big signs and yelling and screaming and calling everybody dishonorable. In the courtroom, I stood my ground. My videos now are available so you can see what I did on Randy Davis at YouTube. But you got to have some sense, folks. You got to have some sense. We're into a new year. Don't bring this trash with us. Don't bring this garbage affidavit junk with us. Don't bring this sovereign on a boat and all this crazy stuff. If it worked, ask them, did it win your case? I won my case. I won my FERPA. I won these things. Not because I'm smart. Not at all. It's because it was fake. The whole thing was bogus. But when these other people do things to make a real case happen, and then they claim that they're like me, or they're like Melissa, or they're like any one of the other ones that are watching here. Oh, mine's like theirs. It was just all bogus. But these people were doing meth, had meth in the car. Seen a guy the other day got busted with meth in the car. We busted him out on another page. Had an infant in there. His charge was chemical exposure of an infant. Yeah, he didn't tell that when he was over there telling how DSS had violated a constitutional right. That ain't about his right. That child had a right not to be in a car with chemicals in it from methamphetamine. That's why we get to the bottom line of the stories, folks, and that's why we're here. I hope this kind of gives you an insight into what my thinking is, and I'll answer any question any of you have at any time.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm gonna put this number out here on this Zoom ID. So if anybody wants to log in, now all you have to do is go to zoom.us, create you a free account. It's free of charge. It's not us. We don't control Zoom. We have nothing to do with Zoom except for using it ourselves. But zoom.us.com. You create a free account and you can come on here. You can put any profile picture you want on it. You can fix it all up, but it's a free account. And you can come on here and all you have to do is log in to the login ID 450-870-920. That's 450-870-920. All right, so when we were looking at some of these things as well, we also had the point brought up that David Jose, who practices law evidently out of his, I guess it's some kind of car that has the hood fallen down and everything. I guess the roof, I don't even know. It's all messed up, but this guy comes on a live video, and every time he does a live video, it seems like he's doing it from his car. And if he's not, he's doing it on a Zoom, and it's probably because somebody else has bought him the Zoom and everything else. And it's just insanely ridiculous. But here's the point of this, okay? When we're talking about some of these things, they can be rather dangerous. David Jose happens to be on the very, very dangerous side of the equation. And Maria is going to show you right now how dangerous this can be, because he has you try to opt in as one of these sovereign citizens. And she's going to show this real quick, because what this site is that he has you go to basically is a site that will retain all of your information, all of your personal information, credit card information, anything that's on your files. It will try and pull all of that information off. So this is a major phishing scam, to where he's trying to get all of your information. Okay. He's done it in the past where he's asked for people's DD-214s, their social security numbers, their driver's license numbers, all of these different things. And what would you do with all of those things if you had those? You're not going to help somebody with their case if you had all of those things, right? You're getting all of those information, all of that information, so that you can sign up for people up for a credit card that they never signed up for, and use that credit card. That is a major, major thing that a lot of these people are doing behind the scenes. DD-214s. Why would they ask for DD-214? Because they can defraud you with your VA benefits. Have it sent to a different address. Make a false ID. Cash your VA check. Very, very simple for them to do if they really, really wanted to do that. It's very, very easy for them to do. Now, am I saying that he is or has? I have no proof nor evidence of that. But have I seen him asking for that information? Absolutely. Does his website do that? Absolutely it does. Maria, can you pull that up for us?
Yeah, first what I'm going to do is show you the email address that's used and then take it from there.
Okay.
Okay, here's the email address. This is when he sent the affidavits, his affidavit and cover letter and all that to one of the parents. And if you look right here at the email address, getmychildrenback.com.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now, get my children back. You see this? Getmychildrenback.com. Your connection is not private. You see this? I got a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Attackers might be trying to steal your information from getmychildrenback.com. For example, passwords, messages, or credit cards. That's what's happening. It's immediately stopping me because this website has now been targeted as being an unsafe site that is stealing information out of your system. And I would actually have to go in and mess with my safety parameters, which I never do because I want to be protected.
Exactly.
So, and if you look right here, getmychildrenback.com. Now, the interesting part is David Jose,
What?
for the longest time,
What is that?
screamed and
Oh,
hollered.
plane?
Randy, we hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the longest time, David Jose has accused us of hacking into people's system, hacking into their stuff, and no, there's, don't mess with them. They're hacking into your stuff. They hacked our stuff. When in reality, it looks like David Jose has been doing it all the time.
Yes.
Folks, please, if you've been to his website, You need to beef up your security. You need to go in, you need to do, clear out your cache, clear out your history, go in and, clear out your, do a disk cleanup,
Mhm.
get it all cleaned out, and then go in and change all of your passwords on everything, because they've probably got your information.
That's absolutely right. I would absolutely recommend that if you are out there and if you've gone to his website at any time, just trying to see what it was all about. Make sure you go in there, clean up your cache, all of your cache, which is not KASH as in Cash Jackson, but your cache as in CASHE. Clean that out. And then what you're going to want to do is, I would prefer that you either got a Norton antivirus protection, or there's LifeLock, and those are two good programs. Or you've got like I have on my computer, which is called Virus Hunter, which is an older program, but it will actually hunt down viruses for you, and it'll show you that it's actually hunting them down.
One of the things that you can do if you have a Windows program is you can go to Windows. Windows has, based on what when you have, you go to Microsoft's website and they actually have a safety scanner. Go to it and use it. It's a temporary one. It only lasts for, like for 24 hours or whatever. You get it based off of your system, your Microsoft, what version you have, and if what type of memory you have, and run it and let it, because what it'll do is it'll catch viruses, and it'll also remove any type of spyware, phishing, all of that stuff. They have the latest and the reason why it's temporary is because they're constantly updating it. So go to Microsoft and definitely go to the safety scanner and download it, run it, let it do its thing, and then afterwards change your password. Absolutely. Let it do what it needs to do.
Yes, and that's very, very important here, because we want you to break away from these things. We want you to break away from anything that really is going to be harmful, your information getting to somebody else that should not have it. If you have sent your case to anyone else, and I don't ever recommend this. Look, if I wanted your case and I wanted information in your case, I can find it. I have people who can find it for me. We have lawyers that we know. We have people that we know behind the scene that have access to those things. I don't have to ask you for your case. I don't need it. I don't want it. So those people who are out there who say, well, I'm going to send you all of my information, you don't have to. We'll find it for you. You don't have to do that. Don't ever send me all your information. You don't have to do that. We will find it for you. Okay. And if it has to do with the juvenile, a lot of those records are going to be sealed. And really, that's not a lot of information that we're going to really need to know anyway on specific juvenile information like that anyway. A lot of that stuff's going to be in the open record that we can see if we need to anyway. Okay.
Yeah, and Jay, look, let me just say this so people, because I can see them now. Oh, you're using Karen to go get secret information.
No,
not out of juvenile cases.
Nope.
But if it's a criminal case, it's going to be somewhere online, folks. You can't hide it. You know, Pacer, whatever. There's different things that we use there. But nobody is doing that. And never have I told people, just send me your whole case file. That's insane. Now, another thing, Jay, I want people to understand there is a way to win. Now, here's what happens in most cases is you got a parent, they're desperate, they're scared, they're tormented by the fact that their child has just been taken, they're traumatized. They are in a state of shock. You make bad decisions when you're in a state of shock, but nonetheless, you're going to be in a state of shock. So what they then do, they turn to the internet. They start to Google. Whoever's the loudest, most boisterous, and seems to have the easiest answer, they find them first. So they find the frauds. Then you have to kind of get them away from that. But what they'll do, and folks, I'm telling you, I understand it seems logical that you want to go to the internet, go to Facebook, start looking around, and then compile all these people's theories, and then take the easiest theory and mix it with another theory, mess it around with another theory. That won't work. That will not work. It will not get your child back. You've got to make a decision that you're going to do things the right way, or you're going to go with one of these crazy, loony things. You know, there's a person watching right now. Melissa told me he's watching right now. He got his child back. His child's safe right now. But and because of that, he's fighting. He drove 4.5 hours the other day to be with some people that Fran is messing up. And it's the hardest thing in the world for him to get them away. And they're being TPR'd now in February. TPR'd. Now, I've never had anybody that we help be TPR'd. Byler, we warned her about Chris Hallett. He filed all of this stuff into the Pennsylvania court, the E-clause stuff, notice of appearance, everything, acting as a lawyer, and then didn't show up. And she was TPR'd. Folks, listen to me. She was TPR'd.
And that brings up a very important thing. The people that are using these documents that other people are drawing up for them, whether it's Chris Hallett, Kirk Pendergrass, the Sovereigns, Louis Ewing, Fran, David Jose, here's the issue. You submit all these documents to the court, then you got to walk in and you got to argue your case, but you don't know you don't understand all that legal jargon. Are you a lawyer? Are you trained? Did you go to school to really understand what it is that you just submitted to the court? You can be guaranteed you're going to walk in there and you're not going to win your case because you don't even know what's in that document and how to argue it.
But Maria, it's more, look, it is a trained lawyer can't understand E-clause. According to a judge where he filed it in his own case, Chris Hallett, Christopher R. Hallett, filed it in his own case. The judge called it a fantasy in the order, shooting him down. So judges can't understand what's in their stuff. It has nothing to do with being an attorney to understand the legal jargon. It's bullshit. It is nothing but bullgoggery all mingled in there to baffle and dazzle you, like being at a carnival. Oh, you can win, put your money in here. You're not going to win that way. If these people were that good at it, then they would open up offices in their local town. And instead of being all over Facebook, people would rush to their office. They would rush to their homes. They would seek them out. Lawyers would be looking for these people. And they'll say, well, lawyers don't like us because we know that they're with the bar, the British Accredited Registry, and they're different. They know that they're our enemy and they shouldn't be here because of the missing 13th Amendment. All of that's all bullshit. Look, lawyers would seek you out. They don't care. They don't care. If you can be a witness in one of their cases, they don't care what you are. If you help their client win, that they're charging $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 to get their child back, they will use you.
That's right.
These guys are garbage talking you, and there are ways to win. And listen, people don't like it whenever I say, Maria, let's pull up one more thing because I want to show people some things that we do. Can you Google Randy Davis, Fayetteville Observer?
And while you're doing that, what Randy said was the fact that they would be sought out. And I can tell you that this would be a fact right here. You have to look no further than Dean Tong. Dean Tong is sought out as a forensic specialist who gets to testify in court cases because of his expertise.
Yeah, and he's $25,000. And he's sought out. 25 grand, and he's sought out, and he's worth the money, folks. He's worth the money. Look, these guys are blowing smoke. Now, what can you do? Number one, you can get somebody to help walk you through what's happening to you and educate you. But you want to get somebody who has won, who has done something, who has helped somebody, who won their own case at least, for God's sake, not got it called a fantasy. So what Maria's going to pull up here, and all of them talk about, we're going to shut down federal funding. Well, let's just look at the title of this. Cumberland County Schools found to be in violation. Cumberland County Schools found to be in violation of federal education law. Risks federal funding. Now, I wonder who in the world they're talking about. Wonder what happened there. If you start reading this, what you will find is that's the Randy Davis case. and the Cheyenne Davis case. Why? Because DSS told the school in Cumberland County not to give me my daughter's records. Why? Because DSS records were in them. DSS had boogered everything, had no orders to take my child when they did, and those records were going to reveal it. It took me 2.5 years to win this. 2.5 years, but that made it easy for you folks. Everybody except for one, and this is a very good case that's about to come out on the news, and they're about to have their victory in the paper like mine. But everybody that's filed this and filed for their forms, filed for the access to the cumulative educational record under FERPA, everybody that's came to me and filled out the thing and sent it has gotten those records except for one. Those are very important things. This is one of the things you can do. And if you read this article, you'll see that I was the only person to win one of these situations in 43 years of FERPA. So
and there's one other thing people need to understand. It's right here. This was a complex case involving interpretation of very technical federal statutes and the intersection of child custody law.
wow.
They
And let me
err
tell you,
on the side of caution. So, I mean, and you won that.
I
You
won
won
that,
it.
and I've got all of the things to show it. It's in the newspaper, but I can also produce the documents and put them up there. And let me tell you, folks, that was pro se. That was pro se because if you read the FERPA laws, FERPA, they're very simple, actually. And the first part of it is no fund shall issue, meaning no money is going to you if you violate this law as a school district. So this was going to cut off federal funding for the entire state is what was going to happen. Now, you can say, well, that's no big deal. It is a big deal. That's leverage to help you when you know what's in there and you know it's going to help you. That's a thing that you can do as a parent. You don't need a lawyer. They had lawyers out there. The superintendent got his contract paid out for the next year and he was terminated. That was Dr. Frank Till. You can Google Dr. Frank Till, T-I-L-L. You'll see it. They had a Board of Education attorney and 2 other attorneys. And then attorneys in D.C. said, we've never seen anything like this. How does Randy Davis do that? Because I took the beating. But I took a beating so you don't have to. You can use this to improve your chances. This is about improving your odds, whether it's getting a medical expert, and let me just tell you, not everybody's got the money to pull out of their pocket for a medical expert in some of these medical kidnappings that happen. But the state has money there. In North Carolina, you can contact the Office of Parental Representation. Office of Parental Representation. And there's money there to pay for you a state expert, an expert in the medical field if you can't afford one, but you've got to search it out. No advocate can do all of this for you. Every state is completely different. This is not about practicing law. This is about hedging your bet, seeing what they've got, getting records. If law enforcement was involved in anything, and most of the time they are in your case, you want to go down to either E911 communications, and the sheriff department, or if there's Viper, which collects everything over the airwaves for a certain region during a call. And you want to get the CAD, which is the computer aided dispatch, the CAD report. You want to get that report. You want to get the incident report, and you want to get all the narratives. You want to get all of your files in the criminal division of the clerk's office if there was anything criminal. You want to go to the juvenile office and get all your file for the juvenile office. You want to go to the school, get all of those records. You want to go to every medical and mental health provider you've ever had and your children have ever had and anybody named in there has ever had. And you want to get them as fast as you can before they issue these orders saying you cannot get them. If you have special education children involved, it's an extra bonus for you because now you've got PCPs, which are for person-centered plans. You got IEPs, BIPs, IDEAs, ADAs, 504 plans. You need to get all of those and be involved in all meetings. You need to understand those. You need to have something on your phone called Cam Scanner. Cam Scanner app. It's a free app. You need to have a phone call recorder. Some are free, some are $5. Get a phone call recorder And any call going in or out, you record it. You record it. Check your local laws and don't make these public. But it's your phone. You can do what you want on your phone. You need to have something available though that you can communicate with other people and you can gather the stuff. And by all means, have a journal. Have a journal and write everything down. On top of that, we have a PDF file of a permanency planning hearing. It is basically your timeline. It's a fillable PDF in Word. We will send it to you. All you have to go to www.teamrevitup.com. Team Revitup, REVITUP, all one word, teamrevitup.com. We'll send you that, or go to Jake on Facebook, J.A.K.E. You go to Jake and look up the PDF. Get it and start putting your information in there, getting your evidence together. Be prepared. Be a Boy Scout. Understand, too, nobody's going to draw out one straight roadmap and it's going to be a straight, easy sail. They're going to throw curveballs at you every day. Don't wonder why it's not fair. It's just not. They're going to give you 2 hours to get to meetings. It's going to be almost impossible to hold a job. You're going to have to do a lot of things you don't want to do. Anything you don't understand, get with somebody who's won and ask them, can they do this? You're going to think they can't do this. Yes, they can. They can't do it constitutionally. They can't do it legally in most instances, but they can do it because they do it. They'll get medical observations and evaluations and forensic things that they should not by law be able to get without your consent, and they'll just do it. I'm just telling you, they'll just do it. So make sure you got your stuff together. Keep your head together. Don't chase the wild goose. If it sounds too good to be true, and there's no work on your part necessary except to send $50 for a consultation with Fran or $550 for a court watch from Fran, don't do it. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. There's a reason a good lawyer is $25,000. There is a reason. People with 25 grand to throw around are not stupid people. They're not. They are trying to do the best they can with what they've got. Most of us don't have 25 grand to plop down, but get smart. And if you got an appointed attorney, make him do his job. If you don't know how, get with one of us and we'll show you how to press him to make him do his job. And if he's not doing his job and you're bumping heads and everything else, then you need to.
I don't know if Randy froze up there or.
Okay, well, while he's a little bit frozen, I just want to let you know, one of the things that he mentioned was the Office of Parental Representation. I just did a quick search and I found that New Jersey had one, New York, Texas, Washington State, North Carolina, obviously. So guys, check your state.
That's right.
See if they have one. Check with the Bar Association, check with the American Bar Association. Look to see what they have. There should be something there. I'm assuming that there is. So it's not just North Carolina that has it. Take advantage of their resources.
Absolutely. And Randy's coming back in here. Probably had a phone call as well. But I want to show you this while we're waiting here real quick. All of those people who are out there who say, child custody is in a quasi court. It's in this admiralty court. It's in the, go to Wikipedia, look up administrative courts. What does it say right here? Child custody. It's an administrative court, which means it's administrative, which means that what you need to do is use the state statutes, the rules of civil procedure, and you need to use the state's case law. Those are things that we're recommending that you do, along with the durable power of attorney, the medical power of attorney, and the living will. Those things are very, very important.
Standby guardianship.
Standby guardianship as well.
Yeah, that standby guardianship form is critical.
So we got the standby guardianship as well. And then we've got we need you to, if you have a child who is in schools or in a preschool, our recommendation is to ask for the child's cumulative file. The child's cumulative
Yeah, and
file.
Jay, really important. When you can send the email, you send it to the
Mhm.
principal of your school and to the school superintendent, and you ask for access to
Mhm.
the cumulative educational record. You don't ask for send me copies.
Right.
That won't, according to the law, you got to ask for access to the cumulative educational record. They have 45 days to do it, or to grant you access, or to hold a hearing, and they will not hold the hearing. I assure you, they'll send them.
Mhm. And that's what you'll do, and that's why we recommended that you get Cam Scanner, is because they probably are not going to make you copies. You're not going to be able to take the file, but you can sit there and say, "Hey, can I have a room, or can I sit down here and look at these?" And that's where you take your little snapshots. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, and here you go. Here's your file back. Now you have all of the files. It's all scanned. It's all on your phone. You can download it back to your computer, and you're set with all of them. You can print them all off yourself and keep. I would recommend that you also get a flash drive as well. Save that, put it on a flash drive, and give that. I would make 2 copies on your flash drive. Get 2 flash drives. Number 1, I would save it on a flash drive that you have, just as a backup. Number 2, I would save one on a flash drive, and I would mail it to somebody that you know is important, that will keep that information private and confidential for you and not even mess with it. But it's there if you need it. Why would I recommend that? Because I've seen the strangest things happen, even in my own case, where I've had an ex that's broke into my place, or had a private investigator break into my place. I've seen it. I've seen things go missing. I know things go missing. It happens. But if you mail that off to somebody, there's no chance. No chance you're going to be able to get that and retrieve it back. It's like what we would call the cheap man's copyright. The cheap man's copyright is you take a photo or a copy of something and you mail it to yourself. You don't open it, but then you send another copy to another individual and they don't open it either. Okay, so that's how you can cheap man copyright something. Okay, and that is the same thing I'm asking you to do with these. Why? Because that information will be there if you need it. If something happens, you have a house fire, God forbid, something happens, you still have another copy of that, and you can still keep working on your case. Okay. Randy, any other recommendations as well?
Yeah, I would tell you, don't stipulate to anything. Do not trust them. Do not trust them. Just don't be belligerent, but do not trust them. I'm telling you, they will lie to you. They will deceive you. They will try every trick in the book. They will tell you you can't record. There are times when you can't. I mean, if it's the law, you're not recording a courtroom, you can't do it.
Right.
But look, you do whatever you have to protect yourself. You make sure your calls are recorded. I would do it no matter what, but that's just me. But if I were calling somebody that I wanted to use that recording in some way, all you have to do is tell them you're recording. If you're in a 2 consent state, North Carolina's in a 1-party state, 1 consent state. So as long as I know I'm recording, I can record any call I got, as long as I'm not calling a 2-party state and recording them. So you need to check those things. Look, don't be afraid of the court-appointed attorney. Yeah, there's some raggedy ones. I've seen some of the worst things. James Hunt in Wake County is the worst attorney I've ever seen in my life. He plays on his phone. Yeah, those of you who are new and you're like, what was my attorney doing there in court? He was sending messages on his phone, drinking coffee. That's what James Hunt did. He did it in Melissa's case. What'd she do? She fired him. She fired him and went pro se. I say fired. She forced him to file a motion to withdraw. She represented herself pro se. She beat the TPR. She beat the guardianship. She beat the custody to the foster mom. Yeah, won every single one of them. And let me tell you, that's a case where sometimes you get retaliated against. She got retaliated against, put in contempt, put into jail, ankle monitor, and then everything was dismissed because she appealed to Superior Court and won. Why? Because she was smart about it. I'm not saying these things don't happen, but she didn't do anything to make it happen except she stood up. These other people are not standing up. Some of them are acting stupid and doing dumb things on Facebook. Like I said, Take the stupid off of Facebook. Keep the crazy on the back porch, folks. Don't put the crazy right out there in the swing on the front porch for everybody to see it. We all get into situations where we want to act out. We're thinking crazy things. We're upset. Calm down, cool down. Call somebody who's won. Call somebody that does something right. But just getting in a Facebook gaggle and start gaggling all about your personal stuff, it will cost you your case, your child, your children, your life, your family. That's what's important. Don't be dumb. Don't chase these rainbows and unicorns that are non-existent. If they got victories, that's fine. We'll promote it right here. Send us the victories. We will just put it everywhere. But they don't exist. Just use some good common sense that the good Lord gave you, and hang in there. And things will turn around. Sometimes it doesn't look real good. Sometimes it seems like it's going on forever, and it does. But sometimes you can make it be worse by some of the things that these idiots are telling you to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say, and here's a recommendation I have as well. And I don't plug this book all the time and a lot. There are some very good things in this book, and there are some things I would maybe not necessarily say go with all the way. But there is a fantastic book out there that I would say has a lot of good stuff in it. Does have a lot of good stuff in it. And it's by Ron and Sherry Palmer. And it's called Not in the Child's Best Interest. I'm not sure if you can, it's green, so it's probably going to come through a little bit. But it's called Not in the Child's Best Interest. Ron and Sherry visited me, and that was probably about I think it was last summer. And I've got some little excerpts out of different things that I've read through in this book. And I think it's fantastic here for some things, interesting things for case law. Okay. So when you're talking about case law is what they do now instead of back in, I would probably say the 1950s and before then, they used what was the common law factor. Okay, so when you hear all these people talking about common law, they don't use common law anymore in these courts. Why? Because they have case law. Case law would say, okay, well, we've already decided these things in these cases as to what we believe common law should have said. So now they're using the actual cases, and they call them case law. Okay, so use the appropriate case law for your state is what I would say most of the time. Now, some of these things are not going to be state by state, because you can't find them state by state all the time. Now, for instance, you're going to see case law like you're going to see case law that has to do with Stanley versus Illinois. Okay, that the child's best interest is with the parents. Okay, so you're going to see different things like that, or you're going to see for the value of protecting our liberty from deprivations by the state without due process of law is priceless, was just Lassiter versus Department of Social Services, 1981. There's fantastic case law in here. It is cardinal with us that custody, care, and nurture of the child resides first in the parents, whose primary function and freedom include preparations for the obligations the state can neither supply nor hinder, which is Prince versus Massachusetts, and it gives you the year. Those kind of things are valuable things that you can put into a document that you're putting forward before the court. Okay, those are things that really can be used to make a valid argument. But I don't go out there and recommend that you say, it is my constitutional right under the 14th Amendment to have my child, that my child is my property, all of these other things. Look, use the case laws, use the state statutes, use the, you can use your constitutional rights. I'm not saying don't use those, but I'm going to say they're probably not going to look at that. And why would I say that? Because of what I said earlier. It goes back to the whole chocolate chip cookie thing. You cannot go to court with a peanut butter cookie asking somebody who only accepts chocolate chip cookies to accept what you're saying. Randy, I'm going to go on to you, bud.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, folks. Here's a hard thing, but I'm going to tell you, if you just got your kid taken last week, it can end real quick in a week or two by getting everything smashed. Get the information to show that this was a wrongful removal and there's no reason. Or if it doesn't, and I'm telling you, most times it doesn't, you're looking at a long-term race. You're not looking at a sprint. You want a sprint. I understand that. But the nature of this monster you're up against, you have unlimited financial resources funded by Social Security, and they will use every bit of it against you. You are facing a plethora. You got a GAL volunteer, a GAL, a CASA, in some places they call it, for the volunteer. You've got a judge, you've got a prosecutor, you can call him an ADA or DSS attorney. You've got the GAL attorney in there. You've got court paid attorneys that really don't represent you well unless you know how to force it. And you've got doctors on staff that only work for DSS and law enforcement. You've got law enforcement who helps DSS. You've got DSS who helps law enforcement. You've got therapists, psychologists. You've got CME, CFEs. Here you have UNC, Beacon House, Southeast AHEC. And then you have a whole gob of Methodist placement, Methodist Children's Service, Lutheran Children's Service, Omnivision. You've got all of these different placements. You've got all of these different mental health people, and all of them are making money. You're up against all of them. So the desperation for a parent comes because you're outnumbered, you're outgunned, you're outfunded. You basically are a sheep running around with wolves that do it every single day. And that's why most people turn to, I'm going to use the flag argument. I'm going to use the enemies of the state. I'm going with, I'm cargo floating in a ship offshore. And some will turn to, well, I'm sovereign and you can't do that. Some will lie and say they're a member of a Native American tribe. I'm going with ICWA. Oh, I'm going with this, that, and the other. Look, UCCJEA, that's a good one. It'll work. It'll work. Having everything recorded, documented, and ready to go, and having your stuff clean and having it neat and having everything still doesn't work all the time. It doesn't. But I'm telling you, in the long run, it'll work. And you need to be prepared. As hard as this is for you to hear, I'm not saying go along with the system. Jay said, we don't want to abolish. How would we abolish? For those of you who are saying, well, they're for CPS, they're working for CPS. No, I hate CPS. I hate what they did to me and my daughter. I hate what they do to you. But let me tell you something. If 3 little kids came up here and they were running from a meth lab because their parents blew it up and they're laying over there, what am I supposed to do? They knock on my door. Who do I call? Do I call Fran? Tell her to come pick them up? Somebody's got to handle the hard issue of there's some shitty parents. There's some bad parents that caused their own cases. And that's what we are very wary of. We look because we do not want to be a part of giving information to try and help people get back kids that they're going to hurt or kill. They're found dead all the time, folks. And I understand they're found dead in foster care. And I understand 80% of the runaways and everything else that are found in sex trafficking came from foster care. It's a horrible, nasty system. I understand that. But try and get kinship placement. It says a lot about you if nobody in the family likes you. Try and get kinship placement there and available right off the bat. Try and get resources, try and get anything to help you get your kids back. And if you're with an abuser, you're with an alcoholic, you're with a meth fiend or heroin addict, get out. Get out. Now, those are for another show, but I'm just telling you, do what you can do that makes sense to be a good parent. And don't believe everything you see on Facebook. If I say it, Jay says it, Maria says it, anybody says it, you doubt that, you go check it, you Google it, you call it, you ask questions. Don't just swallow whatever's thrown at you. And don't believe you joined a PMA. You bought an affidavit. You paid for a consult with Francesca. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help you. Ask for references. If you're going to have somebody come in, do something to your house and you're going to pay for it for years because it's an improvement you had to mortgage or get a second on your house, you're going to ask for some references. If you got any sense, get some references from these people. I can give you some. Jay can give you some. Maria can give you some. But they can't. They cannot. They can get, oh, yeah, he's helped me. Did you get your kids back? Well, no. Oh, really? Did you get arrested? Yeah. U.S. Marshals show up? Yeah. You go to jail overnight? Yeah. Okay. You wear an ankle monitor? Yeah. Okay. You might not want to go to that person.
That's
You
right.
understand? Check them out. That's all I'm saying. Don't take our word for anything. We could be like the rest of the losers on Facebook and just fill you full of stuff. But if it's too good to be true and they're hyping it like snake oil, run away. Check them out.
That's right.
And another thing is, when you check these people out, try and get their background in their own mess, you know, because we have seen time and time again, these, you know, people have got some really, really, you know, nasty criminal history and so on and so forth, but they hide it. They don't tell you that they've got a history. They're not using their real names, or they've shortened their names so you can't find the information. And lo and behold, you're dealing with someone who shouldn't have had their kids in the first place.
That's right.
Or someone that joined into this movement or whatever because they had a bad, you know, they screwed up themselves and now they can't, because of their own actions, they can't fix it. Like David Jose. Look at it. Look at him. I mean, he's a fine example of, well, where are your kids? Oh, well, I don't have my kids. He didn't even go to his own hearing.
Yeah. That's
Do you want someone who didn't go to their own hearing, didn't even fight for his own kids?
Yeah. And not only that, you got David Jose Ramiro Watson. Ramiro Watson. Now, when we've said this in the past, you can go look up his case. It's very easy to look up his case in Arizona. Very easy. We've done it, I don't know how many times on how many shows. Okay. In the documentation, pistol whipped his stepdaughter. Pistol whipped his stepdaughter. Okay. Now, anyone who pistol whips anyone and then comes around and says, my constitutional rights were violated. No, your constitutional rights were not violated. That young lady's constitutional rights were violated.
Yes.
You harmed a child. And I'm sorry that you can't get it across that you need to take responsibility for your own actions. And that's another thing we're going to tell you right here that nobody else is going to tell you. If you have done something wrong in your life with your kids, if you've done something wrong, admit to that. Own that. Own, and I'm going to say this word, and it's not going to be popular for anybody. All right? But own that shit. Own it. You made a mistake. You need to learn from that mistake. You need to do whatever it takes to rehabilitate yourself. Own it. Don't come to us and say, look, my rights were violated, my kids were taken, I didn't do anything wrong, and then we look at your case and we see that you were running a meth lab, or you were found with 20 pounds of cocaine or something. We've seen some strange stuff in some cases. I'm not gonna lie. But here's the thing, if you own it, you admit it, you own up to that, and you make a change in your life, anything could happen, anything could be possible. But if you don't own it and you don't say, hey, look, I made the mistake. I am human. I made this mistake. I need to rehabilitate myself. I need to do whatever it takes to make sure that there's a possibility that I could be a good parent down the line. And maybe you can't. Maybe that's not a possibility that the court will ever let you have any type of custody. But maybe there might be supervised visitations. Maybe there might be letters that can be written back and forth. Maybe you can still have a relationship with this child when that child turns 18. That's a possibility. But that's not going to happen if you never take ownership of your mistake and take responsibility for your actions. So that's what we're telling you to do tonight. We're not saying that anybody has done something and we're admitting that anybody did anything wrong. We're not out there outing people. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is say, hey, look, there are people that are making big time mistakes. Some of these people that are making these big time mistakes are the people who are selling you what they think could help you, not what they know can help you. And what we're selling you is what we know has been proven to work.
Yeah, and Jay, Evan just asked about appeals. He wanted to hear some stuff on appeals. Let me tell you folks something. Let me go into a little bit of the basics. This is not practicing law. This is just educational. But in your case, timelines are fatal. The blowing of a timeline is fatal. Check your local state. North Carolina, most of the situations involving an adjudication. Okay, finding a child as being, adjudicating a child as being abused, neglected, or dependent, you have 30 days from the time the order is filed in the clerk's office. Now, an order is not an order until it's reduced to writing, signed by the judge, and filed in the clerk's office. So once that happened, it tolls the clock. It's ringing, bells ringing. You got to get that thing appealed. And if you didn't ask for the appeal in court, if you did, that's generally sufficient with your lawyer. If you didn't, you got to get that thing filed, because if you blow that timeline, they just won't hear it. You can do a writ of certiorari, what it's called, and maybe get it in there. But remember this, when you do an appeal, your appeal is not going to be a retrial when it goes to the Court of Appeals. Now, if you appeal from district court to superior court, like here in North Carolina, it's tried de novo. And they use a lot of Latin. De novo means it's tried as a brand new case. Can't even bring up whatever happened in the lower court case. That's tried de novo. So, but when you appeal adjudications or permanency planning hearing to the North Carolina Court of Appeals, for example, that is just the transcript, the orders, and it has to show that there was an error, that the court erred. Are there victories? They're rare. Now, we have one in the case of a North Carolina case that we have advocated hard. You're going to see a lot of stuff coming out in soon. And that one was vacated and remanded because the Court of Appeals found that they used erroneous findings of fact. That means just falsified. Erroneous findings of fact to erroneously violate the constitutionally protected rights of the father. Now, that's pretty powerful. That is essentially a slap in the face of the lower court. Those are when you really got your stuff together, and this particular family had their stuff together. I testified in the cases, know it very well. That's going to be coming out soon. But when you appeal, it's not an automatic victory. Most of the times it's not going to be a victory. It is hard to win in a court of appeal. Then essentially, they're just going to look at the transcripts and what's said. A bunch of briefs are going to go back and forth, responses to briefs. It's a very treacherous situation, and it's going to take a long time.
Yeah,
probably going to take a year.
It's basically, Randy, on the Court of Appeals, what you're basically seeing on a lot of those Court of Appeals is, did they apply the state statutes correctly? That's really what it amounts to.
Correct. That's correct.
And if they applied the state statutes correctly in that case, then you're not going to have, nothing's going to happen. Okay, it's not going to be anything. But if the state statutes have not been applied correctly in that case, it is going to be reversed and remanded. And that's usually what the case is. And when Randy's talking about this particular case, and I'm gonna ask Randy on this one as well, because we've talked about this one. We're asking you, if you have a divorce or if you have a CPS case, the longer that you take, for every day that you waste, you gain a month.
Yes, I'm going to tell y'all what Jay is saying is, and this is just for this first month of your case, starting day one, and I say this all the time, starting day one, they took your child tonight, okay? Every day you fart around and you chase a scheme or a scam or a friend, foolishness, or an affidavit. Every day you waste will cost you 1 month. Meaning if you blow the first month, it's going to cost you 3 years. You're going to be looking at 3 years. I'm just telling you, and you're going to fight it. That first month is critical because you can't get records. You can't get anything. You can't do anything. Then you're looking at appeals. And as Karen just said, she pointed out, an appeal to the higher court, to the Court of Appeals, is not an argument based on the facts. It's not that you're arguing the facts in the case. It's a legal argument, meaning there was a legal discrepancy. There was an error. The court erred by doing this or that or the other, and then the court gets it. And most of the time, it's a rubber stamp for the lower court. It's going to tell you like it is, almost 100% or just affirmed. And when you hear affirmed, you lost. You lost that decision. So you want to make sure you get your stuff in. That's why we have the PDF, so you can fill out your parental report, and it's got your timeline, it's got your evidence that you have, and you can enter that. You can do whatever you want to do with that. It's up to you. But at least you have it. You know what happened. You've got everything there. Now, it's up to your attorney to get stuff in there. Or if you're pro se, get it in there and make sure the facts are in there. Because whatever's not in there, whatever's not, you may think, too, that if it's in the file, it's in the record. No, on the record is different than in that file. You got to get it on the record or it didn't happen. It's not about what you know. It's about what you can prove in court. A lot of you know, and you really don't know. You assume, but you know this and you know that, but you can't prove it. You don't have any evidence. If you don't have evidence to get in there, you need to start getting it. Another thing, you can't appeal every kind of hearing. Yep. You got non-secure hearings that'll happen. They're hearsay. They're just basically GAL and DSS throws in a court report and they read it. Sometimes they read it. Sometimes you don't even know what's in it. And they get it entered in there and the court order will say it was entered without objection. But non-secure hearings in North Carolina, they're not even appealable. Doesn't matter what happened in them. And a person will get used to it not mattering and they'll go to court thinking they're going to win in a non-secure. Nothing happens. Kid stays in there. You go home defeated. No evidence was entered. And then you get to a critical, like a permanency planning hearing, which is appealable. And instead of just hearsay and nothing in there, there's got to be evidence and testimony in those hearings. And it has to be evidence of a clear, cogent, convincing nature. Okay, clear, cogent, and convincing. All three have to be there. You folks, today I had a lady, she said her child is missing from DSS care. They're now accusing her of having the child. She's got to testify Friday, or she's got court Friday. And, I said, well, you can't take the fifth. Well, I can take the fifth. It's my constitutional right. This is a civil case. Mm-hmm. In this type of case, they can hold it against you if you take the fifth. Right. I understand that goes against everything you've seen on Matlock, CSI, and everywhere else. But they can hold it against you. That's just the way it is in a civil case. Civil cases, if you look, you're not a defendant. They're actually not charging you. I hear it all the time. They charged me. No, they didn't. Mm-hmm. They are adjudicating your child as being abused, neglected, and dependent. But they're not charging you. You're not a defendant. You're a respondent because you're literally in a lawsuit. You're in a civil suit with the law involved to say that something happened to your child. And it may not seem fair, but that's the way it's set up. And it's set up so that it's easier to protect children. The problem is the system has become a behemoth. It has become a funding plethora, a gold pot at the end of the rainbow for states to just prop up their budgets and do everything with it. It is a huge part. It's over 50% of your budget, and the rest is probably going to be law enforcement. Look, you got to understand, you're up against a monster. You need a lawyer, even if it's a court-appointed one. I used to think, I did pro se. Everybody can do pro se. Do I think they could? They could. But do I think they can? No. I've seen several people that were properly ready to go on the stand, and they lost their shit. They got on the stand and just lost it. Fell all to pieces, ruined their own case. You can't put the genie back in the bottle once you get up there and go stupid. And you better make sure all your stuff is ready and you have an answer for everything and that it's legitimate. You don't falsify things. You don't start signing things. You don't start telling everything, no matter if it's in an interview or whatever. Just learn what you should and shouldn't do and then do what makes common sense. And if it seems foolish, don't do it.
That's
Just
right.
don't do it. It's a different world when it's you and your child and your family is there. And by all means, if you're people in a state that or a county and there's somebody going to court, just go be with them. You know, don't try to be their lawyer. But if you're there, you'd be surprised how many times people were so tickled and their case changed because they changed just because we were there. Not to help them argue their case. We weren't up on there. They were up there by themselves. If they win, it's their victory. But if they lose, it's their loss. It's their loss. But you'll be surprised how just being there, so a parent's not sitting alone, how they're not sitting alone. Neil Shelton, when we went to his case in Winston-Salem or Surrey County, when we went up there, he said, wow, I've never had it like this. And I was like, what? And it'd been 8 years of him fighting. Nobody had ever been in court with him. We were the first ones. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And then it hit me. And I thought, you know, how many parents are like that? Be supportive of somebody else. Be supportive of whatever they're doing. If you believe in their case, they're your friend or you just met them. Doesn't matter. As long as you know it's a solid case and you're trying to help, it doesn't hurt to go be with them and just don't try to advise them, but go be with them. Just be there and kind of walk them through what's going on and let them know, hey, if it happens to you, it happens to me. I'm here with you. And do your best everything you do every day, folks. Try to get rest. And learn. Go to North Carolina. If you're in North Carolina, go wherever you are. Go to your Court of Appeals opinions. Court of Appeals opinion. Read them. Read the most recent ones, and you're going to learn what does and doesn't happen. I'm telling you, that was one of the best learning experiences for me, and it is boring. It is boring. It is awful, and you got to look a lot of words up. You got to do a lot of stuff. Then you're tracing down cases to see how they based it, but you'll see a pattern of things that happen in the Court of Appeals, and you'll learn a lot. At least you'll be educating. You won't be out doing foolishness Fran and them have you doing, and you won't be getting yourself arrested. Read up, and at least you can feel. You can have it empowered me because I felt like I was doing something, whether it helped or not. I was reading my state statute. I was reading North Carolina Chapter 7B. I was reading about the child welfare cases, and I was reading what really happens in the law, what happens in the courtroom. Do that instead of taking, you know, crazy people dressed in superhero uniforms advice on Facebook. You'll thank me.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% right. We're going to close shop down for this evening, but we will be back on Sunday because the Watchman will be on with Randy Davis, and then we'll be back on next week, and we're going to be planning on also talking with Eric Carroll behind the scenes about coming on as well. And Eric does Dad Talk out there. Support him and what he's doing, and we're also going to be bringing on John Paul Rice again very, very soon, because I've already had feelers out there, and actually I've had some talks lately with a young man who has an amazing band out there in California, who we may be hearing from very, very shortly. It'll be one of those little fun shows for you that we can kind of break away every once in a while and do just a fun show to kind of get you in a good mood. Every once in a while we do these kind of shows to where it doesn't necessarily have to be about the movement, so to speak, or the parental equality community, so to speak. So we may be doing one of those coming up here shortly as well. And very, very famous musicians as well that I've already been in contact with, as well as actors. So we have some things in store for you coming up. So be aware, be alert, keep an eye out for what we're going to do. Also go out there to teamrevitup.com. You're going to get some great information, great videos out there. Go to Jake as well. That's J.A.K.E. And that is, what do we say? Judicial accountability.
Justice, accountability, knowledge, and education.
Education. Yes, yeah. And we put all this together. It's just been so long. And so it's hard for me to remember all of these things with so many things going on. It's so quick and so rapid that everything that we've got going on in the works for you. So stay tuned with us for this stuff coming up in the future weeks, and definitely check out The Watchmen on Sunday night, brother. Anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, I'm going to be bringing in Evan on a couple of shows, because Evan's involved with veterans and military families, armed forces families that are going through these things, and his heart's in it. And he is one, and he is a very good warrior in the battle. He understands how to win the correct way. He keeps us cool. And we'll be bringing on James Hagner. James Hagner is going to be on The Watchmen, and he pulled a tractor trailer and raised $1 million for the Twin Towers Fund. He's got a remarkable story we're just not ready to release yet. And along with that, we've got some families that are now ready, that their case is in the position that they can come out, because they want to show some victories and actually show the family. And we're going to be bringing some of the families who have won before, so that you can hear them in their own words saying, yes, this saved my family. There was no magic about it. They won their own case, but we want you to have some hope. It's not just about grumbling about the frauds. There's plenty of them. And I personally get sick of having to point it out. But when you see people going to jail because of Fran this week, Esther Deutsch in New York, Orlena Wills in Arizona again today. So yesterday and today, you had two of them go to jail. And here you have Evan. He's been fighting with families to get them to leave her alone and listen. And now they're being TPR'd. It seems simple to say, you just got to stop. But it's like a drug. It's like heroin. Make you feel good. You know, she'll make you feel good over there. But you're going to crash. You're going to crash and burn. The long-term effects of a Fran encounter are that you're going to destroy your life and your children. That is a fact.
It's kind of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes, the dirt kind. So with that, I should say, rev it up.
All right, brother. And as always, in signing off, guys, we always say this every time we sign off from the Far From Normal radio show, and we mean it. You are important, you are loved, and you are cared about. God bless and good night.